Well, welcome to this edition of Roaring Fork Live's Resiliency Experience. And today I have with me Annie Edgecombe from Mind Springs Health and
Just Mind Springs Health.
Mind Springs Health. I know there had been some branding a few years ago, and my brain knew you back when it was different. So that's why. Well, I'm really excited that she's bringing a topic on just basically the over-encompassing topic of wellness and what is that today, and tying that into resiliency. It's like, boy, if you want to bounce back, you have to be taking care of yourself and having some sort of aspect of being well, both mentally and physically. And I'm really excited for this topic because I think we can easily forget. We easily forget to take care of ourselves because we call it into our stories about what's occurring. If we're in a downfall of some sort, or things are really hard, or they're more complicated than they used to be. It's our brains, I think, can sometimes stay in those places, even though they're as uncomfortable as they are. And then we have to give ourselves reminders, nope, go do something. Take a step outside, especially when we're in Zoom land, sometimes longer hours than normal on our screens. So with that, Annie, I'm just going to go ahead and pass it on to you. And I just really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrea. I feel like you touched on so many aspects of what we're going to talk about here. So thank you for setting the table for that. Again, my name is Annie Edgecombe. I am a program coordinator with Mind Springs Health. I oversee a handful of different programs within the organization, but especially some community health programs. And I fundamentally believe that wellness and this kind of model of wellness that we're going to talk about here is critical for community health and also personal health.
You also do some work in the substance abuse arena, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the programs I oversee is our mobile recovery team, which is a new program here in the Roaring Fork Valley of peers and case managers to help people struggling with substance use get into substance use treatment. So really focusing on some of those wellness aspects to help get them into recovery. So,
and I'm a big Brene Brown fan, and I know she talks about kind of our go-tos, that sometimes help us numb the pain, numb the overwhelmingness or whatever is going on. And that's not what I've, listened to her. It's like, it could just be coffee. It could be overworking. There's so many different ways to think about the substances, or sugar, sugar, right? Beyond alcohol or other sorts of chemicals, right? That we lean on.
Yep, for me it's social media. So I did read one study that substance use has been up 25% since COVID has started. So people are definitely leaning on those things stronger. So wellness, a little bit about my personal wellness history and wellness story. I think it's interesting to go back into that. I was always the kid who was reading health magazines. I'd steal my mom's women's health, and was just always fascinated by wellness. Always interested in different diets and exercise plans, and to the point where I moved to India to study yoga, and I got a master's degree in nutrition because I really felt that wellness was like Indiana Jones, and the golden egg in the temple, some secret formula to be well. And it wasn't until I really looked at the whole picture of wellness that I realized, wellness is inside of me. It's not just one secret recipe, and it's not some long lost thing that we are all missing. We can find areas in our life to bring more wellness every day. And so that's something that I just want to share with you guys here, is just how to look at your life and how to examine it for areas for growth for wellness. And also to build some of this. I know resiliency is the topic of this chat. So building some more of this resiliency and happiness in our lives. So that's my plan for today. So I'm just gonna get started with do the technical stuff back here. So I want you guys to just think, in the last year, how many times have you wished someone well, signed off an email, best wishes or well wishes or anything like that, or told someone you're doing well when they ask you how you're doing without really thinking about it? 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times? It could be, it's Probably a lot. I think it's an uncountable number for me, at least.
Lately it's been stay safe, you know, do it safely,
Yeah.
like, and that's like the well wishes kind of conversations we're having around the world. Word safe.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other topic. Like, what is safety? Where does safety come into wellness? But what does it actually mean to be well? I feel like it's such an automatic response for us. It's just say, oh, I'm doing well, and then move on from that topic, and that's good enough to get through. But today we are going to look at wellness as a multi-dimensional sense, pretty much. And I have this image here because it's really important to, it's multi-dimensional, that all of these aspects play into your overall wellness. So wellness is a sense of optimal and physical and behavioral health, having purpose in life, satisfying work and play, joyful relationships, and an overall feeling of happiness. And this is totally individual to the person. All of these aspects in life take into account, but everyone's definition is totally different. So for me, my idea of physical wellness is being able to hike and recreate in the mountains. That's something that I put a lot of value in. But for my dad, who's in his 70s, his idea of physical health might be being able to play with his grandkids, right? Totally different for every person. Every other person has different values of what's important to them. So I think it's really individual to the person. And just remembering that every aspect of wellness affects people's lives differently. All of these things play on one another and have different values in each person's life. So moving on to I'm getting used to where to put you guys so I can still navigate and see my screen.
When you think of all those dimensions, like, it's like I could imagine just picking it apart, right? Like, where emotionally, you know, am I now, or where, you know, this morning, even breaking it down to like an overall for the month. You know, like, where's my spirituality? How, you know, just really, it'd be interesting to do a self-assessment along those different aspects.
It's so great you bring that up because we're going to work on that.
Oh, yay!
So moving on again, so if I could have given this to my 19-year-old self before I went on this wellness journey, it would have been so helpful for me. And you guys are so lucky I'm giving it to you now. This is the wellness recipe, right? So wellness is a broad concept, but it's a compilation, there we go, of the following parts: our emotional health, spirituality, intellectual health, physical health, of course, which I think gets a lot of the attention in the wellness community, but really is only a part of the pie. Environmental health, financial health, occupational health, and social health. And it's how we live our lives and the joy and fulfillment and health we experience. So all of these guys play off of each other. So for example, if Susie Q, you know, let's see here, she gets sick, she gets a diagnosis that is keeping her from working. That's going to obviously affect her physical health and her occupational health, which in turn is going to affect her financial health, environmental health, social health. They all play off each other. And if you take one cog out of the system, all the other ones can shift and sometimes not lead to health, wellness. If anybody wants to start counting how many times I say wellness in this, I will.
You win a prize.
I don't think I want to know the answer. Please don't. So we're going to look at each of these aspects individually in a little bit more detail. So emotional health is obviously coping with life stressors, creating satisfying relationships, being able to express our feelings when things are getting us down, or otherwise being able to express happy feelings, knowing our strengths and areas to improve. That's all emotional intelligence and health. It's also allowing yourself to be open to feeling without judgment and taking responsibility for our actions too. Lots of things you can do to improve your emotional health. There are so many resources around, and I'll share some of those at the end of this too. Like engaging in therapy is a great way to improve emotional health. So not to plug Mind Springs, but just I
know, Annie, on Mind Springs website, you have a lot of free resources to support people around wellness. And I mean, even RFL, we have a resiliency resource page. I know that seemed to go heightened awareness, all these wellness and ways to take care of ourselves, resources that came out, especially, around March, right? When kind of the lockdown, when everybody's like, how do I handle all this? What do I do? So just wanted to point that out, that there's a lot.
On our website, we have a ton of resources, and I'll share some of those at the end of this too, so that you can find ways to bring some wellness into your day-to-day, especially around emotional health too, since that is our focus here at Mind Springs. So moving on to the next one, we have spiritual health. And when I bring up spiritual health, people think like being involved in a church or a congregation, but there are so many ways to practice spirituality in our life. It's so much more than just going to church. It can be a yoga practice, spending time in nature, just really building that sense of purpose and meaning and values. And this can be giving back to the community. So many ways to practice spirituality. Intellectual health. In a broad sense, this can be looking at different perspectives, challenging your own beliefs, learning different aspects of an issue, and taking them into consideration, and just keeping your brain active and intellectually expanding. Number of ways you can do this, keeping up to date on current events. I don't always like to recommend doing that these days, but in small doses, right? Looking at both sides of stories and that kind of thing. So. Yes, and Andrea put that in the chat, but please, if you have any comments, I want to keep this as fluid. I'm sure you guys all who's on the call have things to say, so please let me know if you have anything to contribute. Physical health is, I think really, like I said earlier, it gets so much attention in the wellness community. It's taking care of your healthy body, and the physical body you live in can be good health habits, of course, nutrition, exercise, and access to appropriate health care. And it's choosing what makes your body feel good and trimming back on the things that make us not feel good, right? I'm never the person to say cut those out totally, but learn where you can focus more on the things that make us feel good and ease back on the negative things that are making us not feel good. It's creating a routine that balances activity and also inactivity. People, I think, especially in the mountains here, we have a very go-getter culture, and sometimes we don't value the inactivity part of our physical health too, but it's finding that yin and that yang too. Our body,
you get the guilt if you sit at home and binge watch for a few hours versus like, I should be riding my bike, or I should be out on a mountain doing something.
Or you get guilt from your friends too if you just opt out of the 14er. That's what happened this weekend. I was supposed to climb a 14er. I said, no, I don't think so. I think I'm gonna hang home and watch Jane Austen all weekend. And there's a little insight to my life. But I truly believe that our body is intelligent. So much of physical health is slowing down and taking time to listen to our bodies and saying, oh, I should go ahead and get up and go for a walk, or go climb the 14er with my friends, or I should hang out, and just slowing down, having mindfulness moments to listen to our body and see what exactly is needed in that moment. Scooting right along, environmental health. This is essentially your space that you occupy, your home, your work environment, just the physical space that you spend your life in. Should be pleasant and stimulating, and that's what supports well-being. Of course, this includes access to clean air, food and water, and being able to feel safe and be safe, I think, is also a really important aspect of environmental health.
I want, as I was reading your slide, being safe, like what does that mean today compared to, 5 months ago?
Yeah, that definitely has shifted, huh? The definition of safe.
And then, like my guess is we are probably hypersensitive, right, as the human race right now, to being, what does safe mean? Mm-hmm. And then, like, I don't know if we'll ever get back to a norm of safety. Like, even let's say the vaccine comes out for COVID, for some people, maybe that is, okay, great, I'm back to feeling safe. Or maybe others are like, I don't know how effective it's going to be, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm still not going to I'm still going to wear my mask, or I'm still not going to engage in social activities like I used to.
Yeah, yeah. And I wish there was an answer for that, but that's also personal too, right? Our sense of safety and like so many of these things is individual to what feels good in your body, and slowing down and listening to that, like, is it just locking your doors at night makes you feel safe enough? Or is it, you sleep with all the windows open and, so yeah, leaning in and doing some self-reflecting on what makes you feel safe, and listening to, I always trust my gut when I say, ooh, that doesn't feel good in the safety field. So things that did feel safe this time last year, right, that has changed, of what feels safe now. So,
or even when we're like a teenager, right, they're willing to take any risk, and as we grow older and wiser, right, that probably changes also. Annie, hang on, Annie, you froze. Let's see if I can.
I'm frozen too.
Oh, you're back.
Am I back? Okay, good. Sorry. The internet is my computer's telling me right now, my internet connection is unstable.
Okay.
Sometimes that happens when it gets cloudy over our office for some reason. Anyway, financial health. Financial health is satisfaction with your current and future financial situations. It's not being rich or having, what was the duck who had a room full of money? Do you know that cartoon?
Nope.
Oh. That's what I always imagine when I think of financial health. There was some cartoon from my childhood with a duck, and it had, I don't know.
Had a room full of money?
We had a room full of money. Not a good reference. I'm learning some cultural references of things that aren't good too. But enough income, a ratio of income, debt, and savings, understanding financial literacy, how to invest. This includes finding fulfilling jobs, setting budgets, that kind of thing. And how do your finances, in fact, impact your life, is the idea of financial health. Occupational health, I believe that, no work is perfect. I don't know if that's, they call it work for a reason. So finding that balance of personal satisfaction and enrichment from your work, to balance out some of the work part of work, right? Work should provide us with meaning and purpose and reflect our values. Again, I adore my job, and it still is work. But because I get so much opportunity to do cool things like this and focus so much of my time on wellness and helping communities, it's really, really a big part of my personal wellness equation. So yeah, finding work that feeds your soul a little bit, I think is really important and challenges you, right? Social health, developing a connection and sense of belonging with your support system, interests and concerns and needs of others for humankind, just asking yourself if you set aside quality time to connect with others, picking up the phone and calling loved ones, that kind of thing, building strong, healthy social relationships. Those are all kind of the dimensions, I call them, of wellness. And what we know about wellness in the behavioral health world is that when people are struggling with substance use or mental health challenges, when they focus on wellness during treatment, not only do they recover faster, they also stay healthier longer. So it makes sense to me, because it's really, really hard to take care of your mental health when you are physically in pain, or if you're preoccupied with your housing situation or your financial health situation. So by focusing on the whole picture of wellness, people get better faster. So I'm gonna lead you guys through a little exercise. Any comments on those different dimensions and aspects of wellness, and thinking of it as a 8-limbed pie?
I don't know if Helen or Mina, who are on our call, we have one other person. When I first saw your list, right, of all of them listed on the probably slide 3 or so, I sat there, I'm like, ooh, which one of these would I start focusing on, or which one has maybe the biggest trigger, like, that I could think of? And then that has like the low-hanging fruit, that a simple adjustment to what I'm doing could bring some benefits. And then my guess is, you know, all those baby steps you start taking would affect all those other areas too, that you start to, you know, it's like what you focus on intentionally, right, gets results. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm gonna lead you guys now. That was a good intro to this little exercise. So everybody who's on the call, I encourage you to follow along too. So if you have a piece of paper, I'm just using a little sticky pad that I have. So it doesn't have to be a big piece of paper, but I want you guys to draw this circle. So it's just a circle right in the center of your piece of paper, and you can divide it into 8 equal sections. So for the math challenged people in the room, that would be 4 lines right down the middle, making a pizza pie. Okay. And then each one of those sections, we're going to label with one of the dimensions of health. You don't have to write out the whole one. Some of them are very long words. So social health, emotional health, spiritual health, intellectual, physical, environmental, financial, and occupational. Okay. And we're going to take just a deep breath here. Going to close our eyes, and we're going to just kind of put away our to-do list. Going to put away whatever we're thinking about, what we're going to make for dinner, whatever we have to do. And we're just going to take a deep cleansing breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. And I'll let you guys reflect on each of these aspects in your life. And you can take your pen and you can shade in your pie piece with how much fulfillment you get in that specific category of your life. So for example, if you feel totally fulfilled with your social life, you have a good support system, it's exactly what you feel like you need, you'd color it in all the way. If it's 50% what you think you'd like right now, you could do halfway, and so on. So does that make sense? Any questions there? Okay. I always have trouble explaining coloring for some reason. And I'm going to do this too with you. And then when you have your pie piece colored in, if you could give me a thumbs up so I know we can move.
got mine. See if
You got yours?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Look how nice. Yay. Look at the little pizza. It's an Andrea pizza. And okay, I got mine done too. Nina and Helen, how you doing? Thumbs up. Great.
Nina, yeah.
Cool. So remember this little pie piece, right? I have mine here. This is just a snapshot of your life right at this moment. This isn't where you were last year. It isn't where you were last week. It's not where you're going to be in the future. This is totally changeable snapshot of where you are right now. And so I want you to look at your your pieces and which 3 were most colored in. And you can label them 1, 2, and 3. How does that sound?
Great.
And ask yourself, what are good things that are going on in those aspects of your life? And you can write those down too if you're like, my job, love my job, whatever good may be going on with those 3 aspects of your life. And then once you have that going, we can reflect and look at our pie pieces at which 3 are least colored in, which have the most room for improvement. And where are some areas I liked that term you used, Andrea, low-hanging fruit. And you know, I did this exercise recently with somebody, and they were like really struggling with their social health. And they're like, all I need is to make one friend that I can hang out with regularly. And I said, well, you know, that relies a lot on other people. And so why don't we just call one person that you haven't talked to in a while? That's a pretty low hanging fruit, and reestablish that connection. So areas to improve. So go ahead and look at your 3 least colored in. What are some areas to improve in those? And what are some of the barriers for you filling in that pie piece? Sometimes there are barriers, and I think it's worth acknowledging those guys that are keeping you from having a totally full pie piece. And we all have areas we feel like we can improve into. And then this is something that I also like to reflect on, is what can you apply from your most colored in pie pieces to your least colored in pie pieces? And asking yourself, are you filling one cup of your life a little bit more than another one, and is that affecting it? And maybe it's not, and that's okay too. Maybe you're putting that value in something else differently. So is there some aspects of a part of your life that you're putting more into one area that you can share a little of the wealth into the other area? And again, this is just a snapshot of how you're doing at the moment. So there are lots of ways to improve on and fill our cup a little bit more on each of these pie pieces. Some of those low-hanging fruit. I'm not going to go into exact detail of things you can do, because this is personal to you and personal to your own wellness. But just bringing awareness to where you are in that moment. I like to do this sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I feel like I'm juggling a lot of balls in the air. It helps me just ground down and see what's exactly going on in that moment, and where can I feed myself a little bit more. And sometimes it is just physically feeding yourself, right? Eating a meal.
Getting a glass of water.
Or getting a glass of water, yeah, like we were talking about. Thank you for reminding me to drink a little bit of water. Talking a lot. So lots of ways you can improve this. Grabbing some of those low-hanging fruit in the moment that you can do. I love that, little action steps to that. And also for some bigger things, if you're noticing that, you know, your financial health is really lacking, setting some SMART goals and making them time. We'll go over what a SMART goal is. Is this a term that you've heard in your life? Yeah.
Oh, we use it a lot within Roaring Fork leadership.
Oh, great, cool. Well, then I'm glad to do that. So you guys have lots of, so hopefully you guys can set some SMART goals for yourself off of the pie exercise that we did. But again, SMART goals are specific to what you want to do, measurable. This is one of the ones that we talk about with my team all of the time, having measurable goals. How do you know when you've reached it, right? I just like the person I was talking about, like, oh, I just want more friends. Like, okay, let's make it one friend, right? That's a lot more attainable, right? Attainable and realistic. My goal should never be that I want to fly to space. That isn't realistic for where I am right now. My goal also probably shouldn't be trying to think of I don't think my goal will ever be riding the Colorado Trail. I was watching a video of something like that, mountain biking that. It's not a realistic goal for me at this point. Maybe in the future it will be, but right now biking once a week would be a more realistic goal for me. And timely, when can you exactly accomplish it? Give yourself a deadline. I don't know what it is about deadlines, but it makes people get stuff done. I know personally I was putting off prepping for this talk, but by having the deadline of it coming up, I did it all and I got it all done beforehand. So give yourself a deadline and stick to your deadline too. So SMART goals really help accomplish your goals.
Well, and then I've learned there's some statistics, right? Write it down or tell somebody. Mm-hmm. That's the next, like if you really are committed to that goal, it should be easy to write it down and it should be easy to tell somebody. And then if you tell somebody, right, it'll help potentially accountability.
Yeah, you get a little accountability buddy is what I always call them.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're just extra steps. They're extra steps that help you attain, get to success, right? Attaining that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much power in writing things down. And I think even just with like writing down this little snapshot of where you are right now. Of course you can feel that, but if you keep this on your desk and it's a little reminder like, oh, I should get up and walk around the building. I haven't gotten any blood moving today. So it's just a nice little reminder to write something down. I truly believe that writing things down makes it real. And so I think, and I'm shifting now from wellness into happiness too, and resiliency, because I think they are, they hold hands. I think that all of our goals is people want to be well and people want to be happy, right? That's the reason we do this. And so we're going to look at now I'm going to give you the how-tos of just building a little bit of happiness, some steps to building happiness that you can take into your life too. So we have some quotes here of what happiness is. I love the happiness is a warm puppy, right? That was what, Charlie Brown? Is that who said that?
Yeah.
Or as Pharrell says, happiness is a room without a roof. Not sure exactly what that means, but got to add that one to the list too. So this is the happiness graph. And so I think it's worth noting how we are happy, right? 50% is our biological happiness set point. That's the way our brain works. It's how our neurons fire. It's genetic from what we pass down from our parents. Only 10% is life experience. So that's trauma, bad things that have happened in your life or good things that have happened in your life. And 40% of your overall happiness can be intentional activity. So that is a pretty huge chunk of the happiness graph that you have control over and you have the ability to change, which makes me feel really optimistic, right? That we have the ability to really have control over a huge part of our happiness and our overall sense of well-being. And I think this is so important to talk about in the sense of resiliency and wellness, because being happy and having wellness all makes us more resilient people. Things that are happening in the world don't shake us nearly as deeply when we have a positive outlook, when we can see the good in things, and also have physical, financial, and health that we all talked about too.
It's like in that set point, let me see if I'm understanding when you say set point, if it's the same thing. It's like that baseline. Like it's like, I know I have high optimism, for example. So the idea is, I'm higher than most. So the idea is if I hang out with a pessimist, let's say for an example, they can either really irritate me, or if I'm resilient about it, I can just really get curious about what they are, so it doesn't upset me. So that means like my set point is higher. And I think of emotional regulation, like how we get triggered. Some of us get triggered more easily, others don't, right? So again, am I saying that right? That's what that set point is. And our set points for human, they're all different.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think of the set point as kind of like Eeyore, right, from Winnie the Pooh. He would have a pretty low set point. His baseline is pretty low, and that's how he functions, and that's okay, and that works for him. And it's just a lower Eeyore kind of level. There are other people who have the higher Tigger set points, and so they get it's a little less work for them. But our brains are plastic and they're able to change too. And so that's where that intentional activity can to like help on top of that baseline. Does that make sense? Is that a good cartoon metaphor?
Liked it.
I've been watching a lot of TV recently, so that's been one of my coping mechanisms through COVID. So not necessarily Winnie the Pooh, but
Jane Austen.
Jane Austen, there you go. So a few little simple steps to happiness, some action items to give you guys. Here's the roadmap. Expressing gratitude. Tons of research out there about how important it is to express gratitude. This can be writing things down in a gratitude journal, just a few little points, gratitude journal. I tried that once, and it was just, I would write my dog every day. So I had every day, which I'm grateful for my dog still. But incorporating gratitude in meetings, as some of you guys are leaders, I know since COVID has started, we've been having daily huddles, and we start every meeting with listing some gratitudes for the day. And I can really tell a difference in our company culture and my team culture of just focusing on the positive of what's going well and what they're grateful for. There was a really good YouTube video, I think it's a soul pancake gratitude experiment that you guys can look to. And in it, they had people write a letter to people they were grateful for. And when people actually sat down and physically wrote down what they were grateful for, again, that's coming back to the power of writing things down, making it real. They saw a 2 to 4% increase in their overall happiness. And then also in that same video, they had the person then call the person who they wrote the letter to and read it to them on the phone. And so they were speaking it out loud, which again, we were talking about with the SMART goals, right? And telling the person that they were grateful for them and why they were grateful for them. They saw up to a 20% increase in their overall happiness in that moment. So really powerful, just expressing gratitude. Another way I like to express gratitude is at mealtime too. So being grateful for the food that we have. It doesn't have to be a religious thing, but also grateful for all the people who made it possible to have food on the table too. So if you have kiddos at home, it's a really nice way to just kind of bring a habit of gratitude into the day, since we're all eating meals, but also learn more about food systems, which I think is important too. So, and having gratitude for the people who make our life possible. Cultivating optimism. Like you said, Andrea, you're an optimistic person. It doesn't always come naturally for everyone. So there's lots of ways to cultivate optimism, but that's really just not allowing unfounded worries to take over, right? The what ifs. One way that we can help cultivate optimism is to consider an diet and be thankful for what you have in your life and not be constantly comparing it to other people on social media or that kind of thing, and just have a little bit of space from that. Another way to cultivate optimism in our day-to-day is I always ask myself, WWWT, and that's what went well today. And that could be also another nice little journaling prompt too, to focus on the positive things that are happening in our life. See what's it? Avoid overthinking and social comparison. Again, that's not letting unfound worries, taking an diet. I think my notes got mixed up on this, but they both can help a lot. Considering an diet, social media is such a great way to stay connected, but also have clear boundaries about it, and not just scrolling endlessly. And again, being thankful for what you have. Having a strong gratitude practice really helps with this too.
So I've done a practice, I can share this with everyone. The overthinking starts to cause some overwhelmingness or anxiety, or just even on the beginning phases of it. Or if I get really sucked into the overthinking, I've started like journaling, or I type it out on my computer, but I do the what ifs. Like I do a reality testing practice to the story I've created. And then I do what ifs, like what if this part of it happens? What if it doesn't happen? Is this really true of that person? How do you know this, right? Like, but I start with these what if prompts that really makes me go, oh, wait, right? Connect a little bit more to the reality or facts of the situation versus going down, I call it the rabbit hole of like, oh, it's never going to work, or this is awful, or that person was mean to me. It's like, no, maybe they were actually just providing you some useful feedback. I may not have been willing to listen to it.
Yeah.
Why absolutely. I think they're mean, whatever, why I made up that story.
Yeah. And I like that idea of writing it down too with the what ifs, because it's so easy to spiral with what ifs, but when you're putting them on paper, it's real easy to see both sides of the coin. I feel like it's easy to see, what if this happens and what if it doesn't, you know? So often our brains are just want to focus on that bad thing, and what if it doesn't happen? What if something great comes out of it?
Yep.
So great, thank you for sharing that, Andrea. That is a great little exercise on keeping from going down the rabbit hole, as you said. Practice mindful acts of kindness. This is, again, a really powerful tool. I live personally by the standpoint of always be kinder than necessary. Practicing mindful acts of kindness can be as simple as holding a door for somebody, or making eye contact and giving people smiles, buying a cup of coffee and for a friend when they're having a bad day. There are lots of ways to mindfully practice kindness and add those into your day. So I have a little activity here just to build a little bit of happiness and resiliency in our day-to-day. So if you have room on your sticky note, I don't have any room, so we're gonna have to get another sticky note. I want you to write 3 things you're grateful for. And then 3 good things that happened this week. I guess I didn't write down 3 things that you're grateful for, but you can just, let's say 3. And then, because we've been talking about how writing things down and saying them out loud brings things more power, does anybody want to share something they're grateful for?
I'm grateful for my teenage kids who are very self-disciplined with doing online school, where I have minimal support that I have to give them. I'm available for them if needed, but I can only, and this is a comparison, but I'm thinking of those like grade school kids and what they're doing. So I just felt like, wow, I just was kind of grateful that I don't have that level of distraction, but compassionate towards and empathetic for the ones that do.
Absolutely. Thank you for, I can imagine that is a good feeling. I don't know how the parents of little kids are doing it right now. Can't imagine learning to read on a Zoom call at the moment, but thank you for sharing that gratitude, Andrea. And then, anyone want to share something good that happened this week?
See if Mina or Helen will chime in.
Yeah. Or whoever is on the phone. I see we have a phone call.
And both Mina and Helen I met based on my kids. Like, kids knew their kids, and that's how I know Mina and Helen. So I'm very thankful for you to be here.
Yay. Yeah, I'm grateful for you guys.
Let's see. School started, Helen said.
Oh yeah, the chat. I forgot that that's a
Yep.
Goodness. I am grateful for Zoom. This is new territory for me since COVID started, and I love the ability to be able to stay connected and have these kind of conversations over Zoom. So I'm grateful for Zoom. I'm going to share that for you guys. See here. Nurturing relationships. Again, we talked about this a little bit with some of the wellness aspects of social wellness. But contacting someone with whom you've been out of contact. This can be scrolling back in your phone to a text message conversation that has kind of died down and just saying, hey, been thinking about you, hope you're well, remember when we did this funny thing, and starting that up again. And most people really like getting those kind of text messages. So I know sometimes I'm nervous to start conversations again, and there can be a little bit of uncomfortableness, but seldom in my life have I ever gotten a text message and been like, oh, that was too kind and out of the blue. So just think of it from that perspective too, if it feels a little awkward at first. Again, this can be doing something nice for a friend or a coworker, spending time with family, and really having cell phones are such a wonderful way to connect with people, and they also can be a way to disconnect with people. So when you are having some social time, putting our phones away, having some technology-free interactions can really help build and nurture those relationships. Learning to forgive. This is a hard one. I find. But it's also remembering that at the root, forgiveness is about being good and providing mercy and grace to those who have harmed us. And forgiveness absolutely does not condone the action of the other person, and it doesn't make it okay, but it just makes navigating life a little bit more enjoyable, right? It makes it just a lot easier to forgive somebody than to hold a grudge. If you're not open to forgiveness, I like to think of it as a exercise routine, and start small and work your way up. Start with the person who cut you off in traffic, right? That's a pretty, and just say, I forgive you for doing that. I'm sure you have somewhere really important to go, and move up to bigger asks, right? Some of the bigger forgivenesses in your life too. No reason to carry around a heavy backpack full of grudges, right? And savor life's joys. Stop and smell the roses. I have a little exercise planned for this one. So since we all live in the technology era, we should have our cell phone nearby, so everyone can pick up their cell phone and go to their camera roll and just do a few random scrolls. So we get back there a little bit. And I want you to find one picture that brings you a little bit of joy. Okay, Andrea, do you have a picture that brings you a little bit of joy?
Let's see if you can, kind of see it. Let's see if I can get, well.
Oh, yep, I see.
My daughter, whoops, it's my daughter, Tessa. She's always stealing my phone and taking pictures of herself and making a lot of funny faces.
Here, I'll share mine too. I scrolled back, and this was,
nope.
Oh, there's the camera.
Yep.
We were about to start a backpacking trip, and I'm with my fiance and his sister and our dog, and we're all wearing our backpacks, and so that was a fun moment. And I remember this was at the beginning of COVID, and when we first went into lockdown, and we were all very nervous, and I asked someone to take a picture, and then after I asked them to take a picture, I was like, oh, should I have done that? I don't know, what if they but it was such a happy, fun time to escape some of the news then. So and just, using technology like that, it can be a tool for savoring things. It can be a tool to help build relationships, but it also can be get in the way sometimes too. So having mindful boundaries around technology. And so, yeah, resources. That's kind of everything I have for tips to build a little bit extra happiness. If you visit our website, we have a ton of resources, including some of these awesome positive posters that you can download. And they have really cool inspirational phrases on them too. And then, like we were talking about in the beginning, one of my favorite things that we provide as MindSprings is access to the MyStrength app. You can access it from the website, or you can access it from your cell phone, and you can use the code WellnessWeb to join for free. And that has all kinds of guided meditations, some coaching skills, all kinds of things to help bring a little bit more wellness into your day. So I encourage you, if you want to start making a habit of focusing on your wellness, to look into some of these resources. Well, that's everything I have for you. I have a few minutes, 44 minutes on the dot.
Whoa.
Andrea, you said plan on 45.
Look at that. Well,
any questions or discussion?
Does Mina or Helen have any questions, thoughts? No, Mina said, thank you, Annie and Andrea, in our chat. And Helen, thank you for presenting. So yeah, by all means, yeah, go check out these resources. Again, even RFL, I think Yale did a free wellness program, if I'm not mistaken. We have the link on our website. There's just so much out there, and that's even the point of why RFL took the initiative. And I think even seeing what MindSprings has done to really heighten, since resiliency wellness is heightened in this time of COVID, that's why all these free resources are out there because we want our community to thrive, survive, and be the best versions of themselves through all of this. And not just now, it's to take these skills that we're picking up and use them in any type of adversity, or if your set point gets hindered, even for a moment, you have access, right, to knowing you have a choice to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I'm really grateful to live in this community, because there are so many helpers and so many support systems, and the recent pandemic and also the fires going on in the area have really brought to light how many people there are doing work to be helpers. So I'm grateful to be part of the community, including you guys. You guys are doing such important work building strong and resilient leaders. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Yep. I do want to plug, let me see if I have because it seems like a natural. And I will put this in an email for you too, Andrea, but if anybody does need additional support, we do have a mental health support line now with Mind Springs too. And I will send this flyer out to Andrea, and maybe she can pass it on to you guys. Just, additional mental health support. It's totally free to call. You talk to somebody who can help you in a time of need. So
perfect. I can absolutely send that out after.
Awesome. Okay. Sweet. Great. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining us. Again, these resiliency experiences are every Tuesday from noon to 1. Check out our schedule. Just go to the rfleadership.org website and check out our events right on the homepage. And then you find the events button under navigation, and then you can see our upcoming talk. So look forward to seeing you at another future resiliency experience. And once again, Annie, thank you so much for contributing to our community by doing this with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, y'all have a good rest of the afternoon. Bye-bye.